Today on JP's Creations, we are going to be looking at optimizing some engravings. I'll be doing it on one of my files that I have available on my Patreon page, so if you want to get that file to follow along, you can do that. Otherwise, you can make your own file with whatever you happen to want on it. This one has a gift box with an engraving layer that will end up making the box have a nice engraved finish just like this. So to get a better understanding of how this would run, I'm going to send it to the laser cutter, and here's all of those files. So to see exactly how this will run, I'm going to hit the preview button that RDWorks version 8 has, and I'm going to click simulate. Right now it's running at 1 times its normal speed. I'm going to boost that up to 10 times its speed so we can see how it will travel as it goes through the sheet. And as you can see, the laser is traveling all the way across, back and forth, and it will do so down the entire sheet. That will take a very long time. It's estimating it to be 1 hour and 35 minutes. And that is with our speed at 200 millimeters per second to get that nice deep engraving. So, assuming we don't want to compromise the depth of our engraving, what could we do to speed this up? Well, the main thing we could do is, looking at this, there is a lot of negative space here that it's traveling through. So if we were to separate things, we could possibly do that. So let's go back into Corel and take a look at how we could do that. So in this file, I already have a version of that done, where I took those engravings and I broke them apart. So I broke them into components, being the vertical components, which are these pieces, the horizontal components, which are these pieces, and then the components that are just generally there, which is the bows. And I put those all into their own separate layers. So there's our horizontal, our vertical, and our bows. And I also put them as their own color, so that the bows are the same color, all of the horizontals are the same color, and all of the verticals are the same color. That way, when I send it to the laser, all of them will read as their own color layers. So we'll send that over and see how it does with that. So with the light gray running in the y-axis, the medium gray running in the x-axis, and the dark gray can run in either the x or the y, but your y will put more wear and tear on your machine, so it's best to use it as little as possible. So I'm going to use the x-axis as the bows. And now, when we preview this and simulate it, its total time is only for 44 minutes instead of the 1.5 hours. So we've cut our time in half already, which is a 200% boost in our efficiency. Now, we can see one more thing that we can fix. You see how the laser is jogging all the way from here over to here, with all of this time in here that it's not firing the laser? See, that is a lot more waste that we can get rid of. So, let's fix that. Those are this dark gray vector. Now we could separate them into their own separate color layers so that it would process this one and then come over and process this one. But RDWorks actually has a feature built in for that. That's called the independent output. So when you have independent output checked on a layer, which is our dark gray scan layer for this specific one, it will do each of the sets of vectors, which means that these ones are all constrained inside of that one, so it counts that as one set. So I turned off the scans of these two layers. That way when I hit the preview, it will automatically start previewing our bows. And as you can see, the bows are now engraving the entirety of that bow before going over to that bow. So that is exactly how we want it to go. With all of our settings correct now in the simulation, we've reduced our time for the entirety of this process down to 34 minutes. And that's from starting at an hour and a half. That's almost a 300% efficiency boost just by setting this up so that most of the time when it's traveling, the laser will be firing because it's mostly traveling only in the areas where it needs to blaze. So this is the efficient solution. And go ahead and stop that so we can throw in the piece of wood and you can see it actually cutting in action.